people ask me all the time, they say, Art, you are a maniac. And I am. They say, Art, you are a weirdo. And I am. They say, Art, what makes you tick? What makes you go? Here you're wealthy, and I am. You could retire and never hit a lick of a snake again, and I could. Man, Art, you're always working. You're always blowing and going. What makes you go? Where do you get the energy? Where do you get the motivation? I could sit here and tell you probably 1 hour's worth of things. You give me my motivation. I can come here tired and I see the love that you give me and just lifts me up like you can't believe. There was this old coach 19 years ago down in Georgia that loved his wife, he loved his kids, he loved the part of the country he was born with, he loved coaching, he loved life. He lost a daddy at age 48 when he was a junior in college, had a brother junior in high school, another brother that's in 6th grade. And never knew anything could hurt like that. He'd been to other funerals, but until you lose somebody in your immediate family, that hurt surpasses any hurt that I've ever known. My daddy, never been sick other than normal stuff, died, and boy, it devastated our family in a lot of ways, but it hurt my mother especially financially. My daddy didn't have a lot of insurance, didn't have a will, didn't have any meaningful savings program. For the next 13 years, I saw my mother really have to struggle. She eventually married a great guy, and this guy had a little money, and her last couple of years before she died of cancer at age 59 were real fun years for her. You know, this old coach 19 years ago had a $15,000 policy. And he had $1,000 in his teacher's credit union. He went to a family reunion at his mother's house one day, and his cousin, who's an accountant in Tallahassee even today, got him in there after lunch and showed him what a rip-off cash value life insurance was. Showed him how he could take that same $15,000, that premium he was paying, and buy $100,000 worth of decreasing term. He had never had any money. He didn't know anybody ever had any money. His folks never had any money. And he showed him how he could take $100 a month and put him into a mutual fund. And if the economy did as bad over the next 18 years, none over the last 18 years, he'd have something like $100,000 in there. He could take out $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a year, send his kids to the best schools, get them started in life, and never touch that $100,000. He and Angela would have money to go on and do things later in life that they had not had an opportunity to do up until that point. He went from a nothing estate, using the same money, to a $100,000 estate instantly, whether he lived or died. It made him feel so good. He went back to the Bradley Memorial Library in Columbus, Georgia, because it looked too good to be true. And he took things like Money Magazine and all these kind of things and read and found out that trash value insurance really was bad. That buy term invest was the only way to go. Went to work part-time with ITT Financial Service. Up until that time, all he could do, extra income, was just make a few dollars. You know, if Christmas was coming up, he'd go out and referee a few basketball games or take up a few tickets to an event and make an extra $25 or $50 or $75 to have a decent Christmas or have a birthday or something like that. And all of a sudden, he felt good about what he was doing. He made up his mind he wasn't going to be a life insurance agent, that this was going to be part-time income. He didn't have to sell anything to make a living, that he was going to try to treat people right. He didn't make a sale on the first interview. He went in there and took an educational approach and showed people what they had and gave them alternatives. You know, really felt good about what he was doing. All of a sudden, he started making big money. At the end of 2.5 years, he'd accumulated over $42,000 cash that he had made part-time. Didn't never think in his lifetime he'd ever had that kind of money. 1977, we started A.O. Williams. You know, the previous 7 years, I was in this business. I believed in buy term and invest, but I couldn't see a company that really believed in buy term and invest the difference. And after 7 years, I said, you know, I believe this is our opportunity. We had 85 people at that time, and I got them together, and I said, I believe we're a company of destiny. I believe there's an opening here, and I believe, folks, we can go for it, and I believe we can do something big. Man, they were so excited. You talk about happy and turned on and scared. You just wouldn't believe those early days. This old company, see, in the free enterprise system, if you find a better way or a better product or a better idea, then the other company's supposed to come up with something better. And then some other company come up with something better. And the consumer out there that's paying the bills, they always come out a winner. That's the whole theory of the free enterprise system. That made America the richest country in the history of the world. I I grew up on that football field. It's also an example of the free enterprise system. You know, you find a team like the Chicago Bears up here or Ohio State that wins big. Before you know it, their competition begins to do things like them. They have uniforms like them or build stadiums like them or training facilities or recruiting programs. And before you know it, everybody just plays a little bit better football. And those fans out there that are paying the $10 and $15 for those tickets, they get a better quality football. A.L. Williams was born February 10, 1977 with a better idea. Buy term and invest the difference is better than cash value life insurance. But rather than compete with us, our competition tried to put us out of business. They tried to protect their market, protect their investments by hurting A.L. Williams. Well, I don't like them, I don't respect them, and I love getting after them. You know, my coaching career, I was a head coach for 5 years, and we did some winning that was impressive by most people's standards, but you know the single greatest thing I remember about my coaching career with pride? I never had to call timeout and drag a kid off the field. You know, and as we build up our legacy of toughness, we talked about that. You know, there's nothing wears me out more than to see a kid think he gets hurt out there, you know, and the whole game stops. 60,000 people sitting around watching the trainers rush out there. 60 million people on TV. You know, everything comes to a stop. They finally work on the kid, they get him to the sideline, he's up, jumping up and down, you know. He wasn't no more hurt than a man in the moon. And I used to tell my kids, I said, about 50 minutes before kickoff, the team always goes down and just goes on the stadium, you know, and warms up, loosens up, get a feel of the crowd in the stadium, you know, just get your juices flowing and everything. And then about 20 minutes before kickoff, the team always exits and goes up to the dressing room, you know, and just get your final instructions and final adjustments, you know, before you go out and do battle. I used to talk to referees. You know, the referees during the warm-ups would come down and always talk to the head coach, and my kids would see us over there talking to them. Every game, as our tradition built up, I'd tell our kids, I'd say, now fellas, you saw me talk to the referees tonight. I told them about our toughness. I told them about our legacy of toughness. I said, Mr. Ref, you see those folks down there in the wrong color jerseys? They don't love it like us. They don't want it like us. Football don't mean as much to them as it does to us. See, in our dressing room, as those kids would come in the dressing room, first thing they'd see was a banner, state champs. I think you got to have a big dream. We never made it, but that was our goal, state champs. In the back of the dressing room, as the kids would put on their uniforms and we'd go out to practice or go board the bus to go do battle, the last thing they saw was a knockout chart. I told the referees, I said, fellas, I told the referees about our legacy of toughness. I said, Mr. Ref, I've never had to call timeout to drag one of my kids off the field. I said, Mr. Ref, I wear my nice clean clothes to the game on Friday night, and if one of my kids get hurt, ain't no way I'm gonna go out there and get all that blood and sweat and dirt all over my nice clean clothes. I want you to know if one of my kids get hurt, Mr. Ref, you're gonna have to move the ball on the other side of the field and play a little bit until he work himself off. Folks, I told my kids that every game. And I think just from being here with me, you know that very few coaches probably were closer to his kids than me. And if one of my kids got hurt, I'd have been the first one out there on the field. But see, my kids didn't know that, so they didn't get hurt. We had a goal we talked about. We'd pray before every game that we didn't want anybody on either team to get hurt because that's not the purpose of sport, but we wanted to knock the other guys out. We said what our dream would be is if one game in the fourth quarter, the referees would wave their arms and blow the whistle and say game's over because those folks ain't got nobody wants to keep on playing. Well, that never happened my 5 years as head coach, but what did happen our last year, our championship year, we had 49 knockouts to 0. I never had to pick a kid up. I tell our kids, I say, now fellas, you know football is not a team game. It is and it ain't. See, football is really a game against you and that guy in the wrong color jersey lined up across from you. Somebody's going to win, you or him. And the person that wins is going to want it the most. This business is nothing but an attitude business. See, you got to prepare to win. The first few plays are critical. You got to hit him hard and show him who's boss. So see, somebody's going to quit, you or him. And you got to look for every weakness. See, when he starts sweating hard, you know you got him on the run, hit him hard, knock him out, and we chalk him up. If he starts breathing hard, you know he's sucking eggs. Hit him hard, knock him out, and we chalk him up. If he starts bleeding, you know you about got him. Hit him hard, knock him out, and we chalk him up. I said, don't you ever show weakness out there. I never let one of my teams get down on their knee. I said, at timeout, you turn and look enemy in the eye. You watch him on his knee. When he takes his hat off, you see how much he's sweating. You watch and see how much water he drinks. You know you got him hurt, and hit him and knock him out, and we chalk him up. I don't like what the competition did to us when we were little. They ain't gonna rub our nose in it no more. Listen, if there's any rubbing to be done, folks, see, we're bigger than them now. We gonna do the rubbing. Now listen. See, I want you to know, folks, this business of A.L. Williams, of going in business for yourself, is not a team game. It is in a name. It's really a game. It's a game of you against those folks in the wrong colored jerseys. And somebody's going to win, you or them. Well, I want you to know, I tell all the leaders at A.L. Williams, that if you ain't tough enough, if they're tougher than you and they knock you out and you're laying out there on the field and you're bleeding and all that kind of stuff, I wear my good clean clothes to work every day. And I'm not going to go out there and play with you and wait for you and beg you. We're going to move the ball to the other side of the field and we're going to play a little bit till you can work yourself off. I want you to hit them in the morning and I want you to hit them in the afternoon. And I want you to hit them at night. And I want you to hit them on weekends, and I want you to hit them on holidays, and I want you to knock their ass off.